There we go.
You know,
All right. Isn't that weird? Oh, fuck.
John.
It's like it knows. There we go. All right. Live. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello. My name is Mike. I now have Invisalign, the Hebrew Hammer Brown. I am joined by a special guest, Mr. Lewis Brown. Lewis, my father, the patriarch of the family. How are you?
Doing well, Michael. How are you?
I'm great. For anybody who has ever had Invisalign, I'm sorry if I sound like Daffy Duck. Hopefully it gets better as the show goes on, so I ask that you please bear with me during this treacherous time. Treacherous?
Don't worry, I'll carry the show.
Yeah.
I'll carry the show for you.
Okay, so last week's show, it was a decent show with Paul Como. This week, we're going to dive into, first of all, beer of the week that I cannot have as long as I'm wearing my Invisalign 27 and a half hours a day. But it is, Father will be consuming this at some point, Buffalo Bayou Crush City IPA. So everybody enjoy.
Cheers.
Cheers, absolutely. Okay, so let's get into the big news of, as you can see, I'm wearing my Rockets hat. I have the James Harden jersey on. Russell Westbrook is a Houston Rocket.
Amazing. Just amazing. And I think the most unbelievable part about it is we ended up getting him and keeping Capella, Gordon, and or Tucker. And Daryl found someone to take that Chris Paul deal off of his hands. We get 5 years younger. We get better. I know there's another year on the contract, but the guy's not even 30 yet. And
criticism is that you really didn't get better. The criticism out there that I've seen is that people have said you bring in a guy like Westbrook who is not a good three-point shooter, which just true three-point shoot percentage, he's not a good three-point shooter. But historically, if you take last year out of it, he was actually a 35 to 38% catch and shoot three-point shooter, which is respectable. Nice catch by Redick. Houston Astros up 2-0 here, top two. Against the Texans Rangers. So how do you combat against that criticism that ultimately you really didn't get better? You got younger. Now, I'm not saying I agree with this, but how would you combat the people who say that?
Russell Westbrook is an athletic freak.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not the best.
Arguably the greatest athlete in today's NBA.
He's not the best player in the league, but he is the most athletic. This is a guy who can get to the hole basically whenever he wants.
Right.
He finishes usually with a strong dunk, and when they switch on offense and he's got a smaller guy, he has a nice down low game. I know what the criticism is, that they both need the ball, blah blah blah, but I think that this is going to work. Harden and Westbrook have played together in the past. God, they've been playing together since AAU ball.
Well, they've known each other since they were 10 years old. They both grew up in California. I don't think they ever played on the same team, but they played on the AAU circuit, like you said.
Right.
One went to Arizona State. Harden went to
UCLA.
Arizona State, and Westbrook went to UCLA. I think this is going to be fun, man. I mean, either way, Ross Villarreal in 790 said it best the other day. We're either going to win a title, or this is going to a ship that's going to go down really quickly, and there's going to be fireworks. I don't think it's going to go down.
No, I don't see it. And don't forget, when Chris Paul came here 2 years ago, before he magically lost all of his skills overnight between this year and last year, they said it would never work. We won 65 games, and we're a hamstring away from winning the championship.
if we went to the finals that year, we would have won it.
Yeah, we would have killed Cleveland. Cleveland got swept by Golden State that year. I think both players are going to have to adjust their game a little bit, but Westbrook is just so athletic. And don't forget, Chris Paul misses about 25 games a year.
Yeah.
So the criticism of Harden having the ball in his hands and dribble, and having to do this and that, well, maybe if Paul would have played more games, Harden wouldn't have to carry this whole team by himself. So I think this is a huge upgrade. I like the addition of Tyson Chandler. Good locker room guy, good shot blocker. He'll give you maybe 15, 18 minutes a game. I think there's a couple more pieces we need to add. But I think it's going to be a great year. I'm excited about it. And everybody's going to hate. Harden haters are going to continue to hate. Now Westbrook haters can hate Harden with Westbrook.
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
I like the bringing back of. I love the bringing back of Daniel House as well.
And Rivers, don't forget Rivers.
And Austin Rivers, absolutely. So I love the addition of that. You talked about Westbrook being one of the most durable players in the league. How would have an additional 25 games of Daniel House last year affected this team as well? I mean, he went to the G League because they couldn't come to a contract extension. There's criticism out there that people have said, whether it's fair or not, that Tillman is cheap. He doesn't want to go above the luxury tax. He doesn't want to spend money. He doesn't, you could say that cost us last year too. It cost us in seeding for sure. You don't think an additional 25 games of Daniel House would have made a difference?
Well, if you don't forget, there was a one-game difference. There was a Paul George prayer in the corner of the last game of the year. That was the difference between us coming in second, avoiding Golden State till the end, and fourth.
Right.
So, yeah, I think 25 games, we could have been second. We could have possibly been first as well. House had his issues in the playoffs. The lights are very bright in the playoffs, and I think he will be ready this year. I think he's going to be a great addition. We need to be younger, more athletic, get up and down the floor. And I will tell you this, though. I was very impressed if you listen to what Austin Rivers said when he signed that minimum deal contract. And he had better offers out there. He said when he got here last year, they made him feel welcome. The fans made him feel welcome. He said it was the most fun he's ever had playing. And to him, that was more important than getting those extra bucks. He's a coach's son. He's not stupid. It's refreshing to hear something like that.
Yeah.
So,
did you hear any of the sound bites from James Harden yesterday at his camp? He's had first of all, did you see the video of him taking the kid and literally crossing him up in 10 seconds, leaving him on the floor, dunking on him, and then walking away from him like he's taunting him? I love it. I absolutely love it. For all the people that are going to say that they hate James Harden, because you're never going to stop. Anytime on Twitter, it's, he chokes, he sucks, he's this. I'm like, no, he doesn't, But I will say this deal definitely extends the championship window. I'm excited. I can't wait.
We're going to have Harden and Westbrook probably the next 3-4 years in their prime. It's going to be exciting, and hopefully D'Antoni will be the coach to make this thing work. I think,
I think he's gone after this year. I think he coaches one more year, and if he doesn't win a title, I think he's gone.
Well, I think Elston Turner is the heir apparent to Mike D'Antoni, whether it be next
What do you think
year
about
or the
Tyronn
year
Lue?
after.
What do you think about Ty Lue? You're the season ticket holder. And we go to a lot of games together because you're nice enough to take me to said games. What would you think about a Ty Lue coaching this team?
I don't know what is the big deal about Ty Lue. He came, he won a championship. LeBron basically coached that team. LeBron told him who to put in, who to take out. He told GM who to trade, who to bring on.
So he's Steve Kerr in Golden State.
He's Steve. Well, Steve Kerr's done a good job, but I think a guy like Elston Turner, I think, is ready. I think he's ready for that. He's got a lot of respect. He's got a great defensive mind, and I think he also had a lot of other offers, but I think one of the reasons he came here because he knew at some point he was going to be the heir apparent to Mike D'Antoni.
I would like Mark Jackson.
I like Mark Jackson,
the
too.
old coach of the Warriors. I mean, I would definitely like him. What do you think about some of the comments from Harden from yesterday saying that there's no beef between he and Chris Paul? There's nothing but love there. There's nothing but good vibes there. Which, what else do you want him to say? Like, he's not going to, if there wasn't good things going on between him and Paul, he's not going to come out and say that. But you believe, I mean, I guess the question is, how much do you believe it?
Well, you got to look. You've got two guys who are both very intense in winning. I think it's interesting the comments that have been made by people like Kenyon Martin and
By Chris Paul? Kenyon Martin came out and said Chris Paul was the problem.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's been more than one player coming out saying Chris Paul's a pain in the ass, and wherever he goes, this is what happens. He just pushes and he pushes and he pushes, and I just think it's interesting. Other players coming out and saying it. I think Harden has basically taken the correct. I don't think there was as much as a beef as the media made it out to be.
Shocker.
But
the media wants to overblow anything.
To me, the big thing is Chris Paul lost his superpowers overnight.
Yeah. He got old.
Even last year when he would make that go through the lane move and they would switch off, he couldn't take a big man. He couldn't take a big man to the hole anymore. And I think that, along with the missing so many games, Daryl would say what you want about Daryl, but he got them to take that contract almost one for one with the addition of a couple of draft choices.
Well, the other part of this is think about the superstars that Harden has played with since he's been a Rocket. Dwight Howard.
Been traded.
Well, you can say
6 times. Nobody wants Dwight Howard.
Well, what my point is that you have him when you can argue that his best years were with the Magic, right?
Correct.
You then get a guy like Chris Paul. His best years were with the LA Clippers. He had one really, really good run here. You could argue this is the first time that James Harden, since being a Houston Rocket, has played alongside a fellow superstar also in his prime, which Harden is now.
Totally agree.
So, our buddy Ryan, who I, will see chiming in here shortly, I imagine. You look at guys like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. Both those guys were drafted together. They've grown up into their primes together. They got Kevin Durant, who's still in his prime, to come play with him. You have LeBron when he was in Miami, get to play with Chris Bosh and get to play with Dwayne Wade, all in their primes. You can argue this is the first time that James Harden has had that.
Well, and don't forget, James Harden came into the league as a 2-guard. He was starting off he's a 2-guard. The only reason he became a point guard was because the Rockets were desperate for a guy who could handle the ball and distribute, and all he did was come up with 8-9 assists a game. He would average double-digit rebounds. So everybody who says dribble, that he hogged the ball, the guy's averaged 8 or 9 assists a game. So you got to look at the overall game, and I think Harden will not have
7 rebounds or 9 assists and 7 rebounds a game.
Yeah, Westbrook comes to this team, and he's going to be the best rebounder on this team. No question about it.
Do you know the 2 guys last year who had the highest usage rate of any player in the NBA?
Is who?
I'm going to answer your phone.
I don't. Sorry, folks.
The 2 guys with the highest usage rate in the NBA last year were, number 1 was Russell Westbrook, and number 2 was James Harden.
And don't forget, Westbrook will be coming in at some times, like Chris Paul did, playing with the second team, with Rivers, with Gerald Green, with Tyson Chandler, with hopefully Jonathan Simmons and Iguodala.
You're not getting both of them. I think we'll talk about that in a minute, but the acquisition of Andre Iguodala is actually going to cost you his salary, and you go into the luxury tax. It's going to cost you almost $40 or $50 million to acquire him.
But if you use Shumpert the right way and you do a sign and trade, you sign Shumpert for like 3 years, 13 mil. It's going to cost. I understand what you're saying about the luxury tax, but if this guy is there and if he's the piece,
you really think he's the piece? It's hard to argue because the good and the bad with him is so evident. He might be the piece, he might not be. But what if he's not your piece, you let him go, and he goes to another Western Conference team, and he's the missing piece for them, somebody like Denver or the Clippers?
Well, if I'm him, why would I want to come here? Because we seem to be the only team that he ever can drain just 3 after 3 after 3. So why would he? It seems like we're the only team he can hit those consistently.
I don't disagree with you, but I would like to go after a guy like Jonathan Simmons. And I find it interesting that a guy like him, he played with the Spurs, had a great tenure there, leaves San Antonio, goes to Orlando to get paid, is not the same player. He's been traded twice. He's cut. He hasn't signed with anybody. He's got good size. He's 6'5", 6'6".
Oh, I think he's bigger than that.
I think he's like 6'5", 6'6", maybe 6'7". But you know, he went to the University of Houston that cranks out basketball player after basketball player after basketball player, building a powerhouse, obviously, with Kelvin Sampson. But I think he's one of those guys that I would love to add to the team because he's young and he's tough.
He's a 3-and-D.
He's a 3-and-D guy where you look at this team and you're thin. I mean, you're thin at the 3-and-D guy. I will find somebody wrote an article though the other day that the Rockets should turn Russell Westbrook into a Draymond Green type. And I read the article and I didn't like it at first. Think about him playing the power forward on this team. Like, think about him guarding the other guys, one of their big men, facilitating at the top of the key, getting to the hole whenever he wants. It makes a lot of sense, though.
Well, but then it wears him out so much that, it's, he shouldn't be Russell Westbrook shouldn't have to cover somebody's big man. We should have enough guys, Kenneth Farid.
You're not signing Kenneth
to
Farid.
be able. First of all, we're under small at the.
Even when you had Kenneth Farid, you didn't play him in the playoffs, though.
Well,
that's why he's not coming back, because he didn't get the playing time in the playoffs.
Well, I mean,
he's not good enough defensively to play in the playoffs. You can't trust him.
But he's a guy you can put. I understand what you're saying, but no one else has signed him either. So we're weak at the 4. We have a 6'6" power forward. We're the worst rebounding team in the league. We need another backup big.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to bring Farid back. But the long and the short of it is that the league is not heavy on big men. How many do you want? I mean, how many do you really need? I would like to bring Farid back. You know what time of the year it is? It's baseball.
It is baseball.
Time of the year. The Houston Astros are
2-0 Astros, top of the 3rd. For
Rangers,
anybody who's interested,
Rangers
Michael
suck.
Brantley with his 11th home run.
The state of the Astros right now. I remember when we first used to do the show, Paul and I. Paul would hate doing like State of the Union of the teams. That's how it originally started. Like every week it was, the State of the Union is strong. I think it's good. They were talking on the radio today. They better make the deadline is July 31st, and they don't have that extended deadline in baseball anymore, where you can make a deal after the deadline,
like we did with Verlander.
So it's the 31st. I think this team needs at least 2 starting pitchers and a catcher in order to make a viable run in the playoffs. But what say you?
I think we need a number 2 starter, and I say number 2 because I have a bad feeling that Garrett Cole will be going back home to Southern Cal next year.
You think so?
And I think we'll need a strong 2, whether it be a Baumgartner or a Marcus Stroman, Robbie Ray. We need somebody that we can.
I like the kid from Detroit.
Matt Burke, yeah.
No, Matt Wood.
Matt Wood?
It's Wood. Something Wood from Detroit.
Anyway, whoever his name is from Detroit, I think we need somebody now that when we go into the playoffs, Verlander, Cole, fill in the blank, that then pushes Miley to 4th.
Yeah.
And
he's a decent 3, but I think he is more of a very reliable 4.
I agree. So I think we need one semi-superstar arm, and I think we need another bullpen arm. When Will Harris,
a lefty.
when Will Harris comes anywhere near,
that's a good call.
That it's scary. I think we need somebody who can get us from the 6th to the 8th when you can bring in Presley, and then you bring in what's his name, the guy for the 9th.
Asuna.
Yeah. So,
who's looked shaky in the last couple weeks. He's looked better as of late. I mean, this team is coasting to the playoffs, but the question in the playoffs is when you run up against the Yankees, what does a series like them entail? I mean, they're running out guys now named Armenteros. Like, who the hell is this guy?
Well, yeah, and then the guy who pitched last night.
I mean, he looked good. Are you going to trust him in the playoffs?
No. And the Yankees, which I'm not I don't think that their starting rotation is all that great. But,
no,
man, if
you get lineup in the league.
You get to that bullpen,
it's over.
And that's scary when you got Chapman waiting to come in after, just you name it.
They got Zach Britton, and they got Andrew Miller too.
That's
if
right.
I'm not mistaken.
So
yeah,
you know, because you got to go into a series where, God forbid, if Verlander or Cole loses a game, you need to have that number 3 guy that you can count on, and I think that guy is Baumgartner.
How much do you miss Charlie Morton right now?
Charlie Morton's having a great year. He's solid, but you know, were you going to give Charlie Morton $30 million? No. But this team went into the season knowing.
If you get a guy to replace him, though, they don't have a guy to replace him right now.
They thought Miley would be that guy.
No, they thought Miley would be the guy to replace Keuchel.
Good point. But, you know, you went into the season knowing that 60% of your staff, Keuchel, Morton, McCullers, were gone.
Right, forgot about McCullers.
And I think
they miss McCullers, too.
And I think that they went the cheap route like they did. I don't think that they thought it was that big of a concern. And I think now it's trade deadline and, you know, get over your Kyle Tucker man crush.
Yeah. Forrest Whitley, too. I mean, either bring Whitley up or leave him down. I mean, I'm tired of hearing about him and Tucker.
He's been hurt. I like the JB, that guy. I like him better than Whitley. Whitley's been hurt. He's been suspended.
He's gotten rocked.
Yeah, and now
round rock. You see what I did there?
That was a nice segue there.
Thanks.
But does anybody want a guy, you know, who gets rocked? I think the only untouchable young guy we've got is Alvarez.
Well, and the other kid that they've got, Seth Beer, down in the minors, he's a young guy. I think he came out of Clemson. He's looked pretty good in minor league ball. So I don't know if I would necessarily give up on him yet either. But everybody else, I mean, if it nets you now, I'll tell you one guy that I would completely clear out, and Austin Barber, huge fan of the show. I would clear out our minor league system for is Max Scherzer. I would give them anybody they wanted outside of Yordan Alvarez for him. I don't care what it is. I don't care who it would take. That's my guy that I would want, a starting pitcher from the Washington Nationals, Max Scherzer.
Yeah, but is he available?
Well, I mean, I think everybody's available for the right price. I think if you called them and you offered them Tucker, Whitley, and Beer, they would start listening.
Well, I
don't know if I would do that deal if I'm the Nationals, but you're getting 3 pretty damn good prospects, don't you think?
See, I don't know if Baumgartner is now available after the Giants have had this sudden surge and are back in the playoff hunt. There was an article today in the San Francisco Chronicle about we're in the playoff hunt, but the goal is our future right now, and we need to get some young guys. I like Tucker, but I'm going to tell you, you know, you got Alvarez, Springer, you got Brantley. I don't know if there's a place for Kyle Tucker. I mean, there's a reason why he's playing first base in the minors. They're either doing that for the Astros or they're doing it for another team.
It very well may be the Blue Jays. That Marcus Stroman, who's another starting pitcher that at his last start, there was supposedly 9 teams scouting Marcus Stroman. Basically, I guarantee you those are 9 teams that are in the playoff hunt and think that they can win a World Series. Baseball is so much different than football and basketball, don't you think? Like baseball, it seems like there's teams every year that can win it. Basketball, it's like, okay, if you don't have a superstar, you're done. like the Charlotte Hornets have no shot at winning a title. There are teams that know, obviously in baseball too, but it's interesting. There's always more teams, it feels like, in baseball that are in it longer.
There's just
which
more
I think
parity
is
right now.
more parity, but the more games thing, I still think 162 games is a little much for me. But it is what it is. It's almost time for football season. Your boys, your Texas Longhorns, made some waves at Big 12 Media Days. The ex-Houston football coach Tom Herman bitching and moaning about anybody doing the horns down should be a taunting penalty. Do you have a specific feeling about that?
I think it's weak. I think it's
What's
weak?
weak? When somebody does it, or that it would be a taunting penalty?
That it would be a taunting penalty.
Okay.
You know what? It is what it is.
It's fun.
You expect it from OU because, that...
Hot take time. Hot take time.
Yes.
No, hot take time. Say something about OU.
OU sucks.
There you go.
It's almost 2 o'clock and OU still sucks.
It's 2:03 and OU still sucks.
It is what it is, and you know what? If we don't want them to do it, then come out and beat them.
Right.
And, don't let them score some exciting play that has to let them celebrate.
I think y'all are going to be really good this year. I mean, I think y'all are going to be, scary good.
Ellinger's got to be healthy. That's the key. And the defense is young. We got young DBs, and we almost have a whole new linebacking crew. We'll see what happens, man. The Big 12 is like a video game, man. Teams just put up lots and lots of points.
Going back to the Astros a little bit, how sick and tired are you with Carlos Correa in this whole situation that feels like it's never going to end with him? I mean, part of it is he's back in the minor leagues. He's looked solid, but it's don't you feel with him? It's almost like as soon as he comes back, you're just putting the clock on as soon when he gets hurt.
Well, he hasn't played a full year yet.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and the cracked rib, however it happened,
if I was married to his fiance, I'd probably have a cracked rib every now and again too.
Well, I just think it's interesting that how quick. Yeah, I think they went into it. I think she took a bat or a golf club to him.
Bat or a golf club?
That's right.
Okay.
I think it's going to come down to the choice will be who do we keep, Springer or Correa?
Springer, not
and
even
I think
close.
Correa is making it easier for them to make that decision to keep Springer.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Let's take a couple minutes. You have a Miami Dolphins football update for the masses here. A prediction for the year.
We suck again.
Oh, no, we suck again.
We suck again.
We do have, now that I have you here, because I don't think you and I have talked about this, Josh Rosen is the second Jewish quarterback to ever play for the Miami Dolphins. Do you remember the first?
Jay Fiedler.
Okay, very good.
Grandson of Arthur Fiedler.
Who's that? Is the owner of the Dolphins Jewish?
No.
Is it sad that the greatest thing to happen to our franchise in the last 25 years is we made arguably one of the greatest cinematic products of all time? And that would be Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, featuring Jim Carrey and my personal hero, Dan Marino.
Well, and if you remember in that movie, I think it takes a stranger than fiction movie to get the Dolphins even in the Super Bowl. So at least
they probably lost.
Yeah, I'm sure we lost at the end. I'm sure Finkel missed another kick. Laces out Dan. But
tell the people what your next jersey that you're getting.
Ray Finkel, number 5.
Yesterday, I was at a softball tournament. We'll talk about that in a minute. But somebody came up to me. She was like, "Oh, I really like your hat." She goes, "How many do you have?" And I was like, not that many. She's like, "How many?" I'm like, "It's close to 100." She goes, "Why do you need that many hats?" And I'm like, "I don't need to talk to you about this. Meet my father, Louis Brown, who is the king of needless memorabilia."
Come on, guys, call in and back me up. It's a guy
We should
thing.
get
It's a guy thing.
We need a phone line. Yeah, I have 100 hats. I wear 8 of them.
Well, but they're your favorite 8.
Yeah. So yesterday, participated in a softball tournament. Very, very amazing cause called. It was one of the kids who was killed in the Santa Fe shooting, named Riley. incredible experience yesterday. It was about 114 degrees, and we were 2 steps away, the entire team, from heat stroke. But it brings into context, recently this week I started the Invisalign process, and I've only broke down about it twice. But playing in that softball tournament yesterday puts it in perspective that life is very, very short. And it's important to surround yourself with the right people, and remembering somebody like Riley, who was a hero. He put himself last outside of the situation, and
risked
he
his
saved
life for
classmates.
somebody else.
Yeah, he gave his life for somebody else, many other people, and it was incredible to be out there amongst all of those amazing, wonderful people. So,
Good job.
Hey, thanks.
I think we should at least appease some of our listeners and give our 3-minute dissertation on the Texans.
3 minutes.
Because I get complaints about why don't we talk about the Texans.
Okay, so on this episode, by the way, this is episode 52 of Beer Sports Whatever.
52.
5-2. I only got 3 texts from buddies this week saying that Lewis Brown was heard on local Sports Talk 790. When you call in, you need to be one of those people that are like, hey, our good friend from Sugarland, Lewis Brown. And I know exactly how you started it. I didn't even hear the conversation, but I know how it started. We're going to Lewis out in Sugarland. How are you? Hey, guys, how's it going? Really good to be with you.
No, I don't do that. That's not me.
Yes, you are. But you are always somebody that they always say, oh, that was a good point. You make very good points. You're a fan first, so sometimes you're a little biased towards the home team, which is okay.
Well, and I preface that by saying I wear my rocket-colored glasses.
Yeah. Speaking of the Texans, we didn't touch on it as much as I would have liked to last week. The timeline came and gone for giving Jadeveon Clowney a long-term deal. Do you think they're making a mistake not signing Clowney to a long-term deal?
I think Clowney is
if you look at other pass rushers, Aaron Donald got his deal, Khalil Mack got his deal. You had the guy from Seattle, Clark, that got traded from, I believe last name was Clark, got traded from the Seahawks to the Chiefs. He got paid. DeMarcus Lawrence for the Cowboys, he got paid. Clowney hasn't gotten paid.
Clowney is a unique talent.
Who went to the University of South Carolina.
South Carolina and Maryland. My sister listening in Columbia, shout out. Clowney is like Westbrook. He's a freak of nature.
Yep. That's a really good.
He can't stay healthy, but I don't.
He was healthy last year.
Know if
he was healthy last year.
He's a Bill O'Brien type of player.
So how many more years do we go? Sorry to keep interrupting you, but I keep wanting to bring up other points. How much longer is Bill O'Brien? Like you said, he's not a Bill O'Brien. Remember the movie Eddie? Remember the movie with Whoopi Goldberg named Eddie?
Yes.
Okay. Remember the guy that they had as the coach at the beginning, who was just that old crotchety guy, that old guy from Law and Order?
Yes.
That's what it reminds me of. That's what O'Brien reminds me of. It's like they need a culture change. They have so much talent on this team. How are they not in the hunt for the Super Bowl? Hi, Tyson.
There is a lot of talent on this team. I think individually, O'Brien's problem. O'Brien thinks he's Belichick.
Yep.
And
he wants to be Belichick.
And you can hear it in the when he does his post-game interview, his pre-game interview, his I suck again interview.
We didn't play well enough. I got to coach better. We got to be better teammates.
Right.
You mean that one? Oh.
Not that we haven't heard that one from the Dolphins for the last, 50 years.
Because we don't want to hear it.
I think Belichick, I think O'Brien thinks he's Belichick, and he's going to have to loosen this thing up. I mean, you've got probably one of the top 3 receivers in the league on this team. You've got an up-and-coming quarterback. Running back by committee, you got my UT guy, Deontay Foreman. You got Lamar Miller.
Arguably, when healthy, one of the greatest wide receiver units in the league, between Hopkins, who is the number 1 wide receiver in the league,
and Fuller.
Will Fuller, and you've got Kiki QT, the kid they drafted out of Texas Tech.
Fuller can't stay healthy. The problem is that the Colts have come back and now are a very strong defensive team, Plus, Andrew Luck is healthy. So I think
They're the team to beat.
I think the Colts are the team to beat, but I think the Texans can beat them. But they're going to have to get lucky and get some healthy guys, and they're going to have to make a decision on Clowney. If they don't want him, then you trade him and you get whatever. But I think this pissing match is getting old for everybody. J.J. Watt, all right, great player, blah, blah. He's, the city loves him. Look at all he's done. J.J. Watt is not what he was after these 2 surgeries. And
he had a good year last year, though. And the question is,
he had a great year.
Would he be the same guy if you remove Clowney from the circumstance? Because they have guys like Whitney Merciless who had a bad year last year.
Texans have the great set of linebackers. I'm so jealous as a Dolphin fan. Great
Zach
set.
Cunningham, who I like a lot. You got Bernard McKinney, who I like a lot.
They have a great set of linebackers. They rebuilt their secondary. Get a happy Clowney in here, and this team is as good as the Colts.
They're as good as the Colts, but I don't think they're doing anything with O'Brien. Just like people going back to the Rockets, people have said, we'll never do anything with D'Antoni. That's fair. That's a fair criticism that you can have.
But at least,
because he's never ever been able to.
But
get
at least
D'Antoni
has gotten the Rockets out of the first round, and
I think
the difference is that the owner of the Rockets is not happy with winning their division and getting into the playoffs. And I personally think that the ownership needs to let the fans know that they are not content with winning the AFC South, that they've got to get more.
I completely agree with you. And that's why I think the criticism on what's his name? Who's the Rockets on? Tillman Fertitta has always been unfair. Because ever since he's come in, you can say he doesn't want to go over the luxury tax, he doesn't want to do all this, but at least he addresses when there is an issue. Now, if you're a Texans fan, you haven't heard from Cal McNair. I don't think has spoken since this whole thing has taken over or has taken place with the firing of the GM, which I think is one of the biggest blunders in the league in the past 5 to 10 years, maybe. You literally fired your GM in a dead time of the year when you thought that you had a guy that you could get, but didn't realize that he was under contract and it wasn't going to be as easy as that. It's embarrassing.
How do you not know the guy was under contract?
Well, I think they knew he was under contract, but there's language in the NFL. That's why working for the NFL is sometimes, not for the NFL, but working for a company that works with NFL teams, there is a rule that if you interview a guy who you're interviewing for a position higher than what he's currently at, then he's allowed to leave. But technically, his position with the Patriots could be classified as a GM job. So they couldn't bring him over just as easy as that. That's what I'm saying. It's so convoluted, that franchise. It's just, I don't know what the hell they're doing.
See, that's a move that our dumb Dolphins would have made and have made. And hopefully now that they've given this whole team an enema, starting with the coaching staff and the players.
I like Flores. I like our coach now. I'm a big fan of his.
I think
Flores. He's doing it the right way.
I like the fact that he surrounded himself with good coaches.
Yeah.
This team, so everyone says, well, they're going to suck for a couple. Well, what's the difference? They've sucked for the last 10 or 15 years. At least this way now, if we know if they're sucking, maybe there is an end in sight.
Right.
So it'll just save me jersey money because, there's nobody on this team that's jersey worthy except for Fitzpatrick.
No. Oh, Minka
Fitzpatrick.
Oh. Well, Xavier Howard. I like Xavier Howard. We're not going to talk. I don't want to lose the people that are actually watching the show now.
That's right.
Dolphins stock.
That's right. So anyway, overall, my opinion on the Texans, I think they're as good as the Colts. I just don't know if Belichick has that. If O'Brien has that next gear to kick it into.
Right. I don't think he's the guy. I don't think he's the guy to get them over the hump, if you will. What else is going on? So the Astros 2-1 right now. Wrapping it up with them, you think they have enough if they make a move or two for a catcher and a backup, another starting pitcher to win it all?
What is your thing with the catcher?
Well, look at Chirinos. Chirinos has had, Max Stassi is...
Chirinos is in a slump right now, I guess.
Joe Schmo. Why? The thing is, you always need to plan out, God forbid you have an injury. if you get an injury to Chirinos, you're done.
Right.
At catcher. So that's why I would like one guy that just got traded this week who I would have liked was bring back Martin Maldonado, who the Astros had last year.
Oh, God.
Well, just as you need a guy just as depth. Now, barring them pulling off a deal for somebody like a Buster Posey from the Giants, which I don't think would ever happen, or, you know, a big name like that, Chirinos is going to be in your guy in the playoffs. But I think you need one more guy just as quality depth behind those two in order to feel good about it.
See, I think a backup catcher, I think you can go out and I think you can go get some guy. I don't think you need to have Johnny Bench as your backup.
That's not what I said. What I'm saying is they need to get a guy that can provide quality depth. But I think if this lineup is healthy, this lineup is good enough to win it all.
Well, remember the year we had Osmus, Adam Everett, and I forgot who the third schlub.
Morgan Ensberg.
Well, we had enough hitting to overcompensate. We have enough hitting to overcompensate for a Chirinos or a Stassi. You know, Maldonado's big thing was last year, well, he doesn't hit a lot, but he's a great defensive catcher. He was horrible in the playoffs. He cost us, I don't know how many pass balls he had in the playoffs. He was terrible. I would like to see, like I said, a starting arm. I'd like another bullpen guy. And, you know, if you can get someone to throw in an extra bat, which means Tyler White would never have to see the field again, that would be wonderful.
Tyler White was DFA'd. So he was sent down. He's gone. Tyler White is gone. We did see a guy yesterday. I doubt he's
Was he really?
Yeah, they DFA'd him.
So he's gone because he has no more...
yeah, they sent him down. He's probably going to hit waivers.
Wow.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
There was a guy there. Our cousin David Silverman, Matt Boyd is his name.
Thank you, David.
The left-handed pitcher.
Thank
from
you, cousin
the
David.
Tigers. I will leave you with this before we wrap up the show. There was a guy yesterday at the softball tournament that I played in. He was the guy who showed up literally in his entire baseball uniform. So he had socks on that one was the stripes and one was the stars of the American flag. He had a baseball pants. He had his team's jersey. He had the eye black. I saw it. He had one of those play wristbands that had like called plays on it. But this guy was like heavy set. So some guy on the field, when he came up to bat, called up. He goes, "Hey, everybody look out for Tyler White." It was pretty funny. Anyway, that wraps up the show.
Can I do some shout-outs? We got time?
You got time for, let me guess, White Shoe,
Tom
White
Sweet
Shoes,
Lou, Princess Warrior, keep fighting, girl. White Shoes, you got to stay tough too. Number 19, you're still the fastest white guy I've ever known. Brentwood, whoever thought we could have that much fun in a mail cart delivering newspapers. Maryland, Columbia, South Carolina, thanks for listening. Dickie, great time last night. J-Dub. Now, Jeff Worm is an interesting person. You should have a show called, at one time, Beer Music and whatever, and you should have Jeff Worm on. This guy goes to more concerts and knows more about music, about groups that I've never heard of in my life.
Doesn't he have 8 TVs in his house?
Yeah,
we should do a show from there. We should do a show from Worm's house.
Jeff Worm lives in basically Sports Center, where if there's a game on, it's
Jeff
on.
Worm!
Jeff Worm, come on down, baby.
So you said the fastest white guy you've ever seen. Tyson goes, have you seen me run?
Tyson, I've seen you run, and yes.
So, for today's show, before we wrap up, are you done with your shout-outs?
I'm good.
Okay. So today,
And Renee.
from comments posted, we were heard in Houston, Texas, South Carolina, Detroit, and Israel. International, baby!
Orlando.
White
Shoes.
White Shoes, yeah.
Tampa, Brentwood.
Tampa.
Pennsylvania.
Unbelievable.
Fastest white guy.
Who's in, Brent?
Brent's in Tampa. Jeff's in Pennsylvania. Luann, wherever it is that you live in Schlabupkiville somewhere. Dickie's here. J-Dub's here. We appreciate everybody listening, the support. Don't forget to put your order in for your T-shirts.
They've already been ordered. So, next run if you haven't gotten your T-shirts.
That's right. Next run. Top of the fourth, Astros 2-1. Hopefully next week at this time, Astros will have some new arms.
That we can talk about.
Everybody have a fantastic week.
This has been episode 52, Beer Sports, whatever. Find us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. 1, 2, 3. Done, son.
Hook 'em
Goodbye.
horns.
Go Cougs. Woohoo!
Nice job. I know that was hard for you to talk.